This is Tuariki Delamere, Principal Consultant for TDA Immigration and former Minister of Immigration. Greetings to you from the boondocks, the wop-wops of the Wairarapa, 90 kilometres north of Wellington, and very much in isolation. Tonight, I just want to give you an update on the immigration situation, the COVID-19 situation. The country, as you're well aware, we're now to the 11th day of lockdown. Thousands of people are out of work. When will it change? No one knows. But I do want to say that I think the government has done a sterling job. In hindsight, I'm sure the Prime Minister may have done one or two things better. You know, hindsight's wonderful. You can always get things perfectly correct with hindsight. My company, TDA, like most businesses out there, we are closed. Our offices are closed, but the company, the work we do, we are fully operational. The staff are working from home. We're all online. We do daily Zoom updates. We've interviewed clients over Zoom. We don't have all the bells and whistles of the office, obviously. Our offices on Queen Street are closed until we're allowed to reopen them. But as you can see, I've got my printer here, not as great as the big thing with the bells and whistles we have at the office, but it's functional, allows us to work. Oh yeah, this is my COVID-19 look rough and scruffy. You know, maybe we'll see what happens on that. Right, I want to cover a few things, so I'm going to switch over to sharing a screen. And if I go back up to here, oh yeah, that's where I am. That's little circle there. That's the farm. I've got a small house on my son's farm, and we're about 7 kilometres west of Carterton at the base of the Tararua mountain range. Very safe, great isolation. I was ordered there by my kids. So talking about immigration, where are we? Border restrictions, a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks now, the government pretty well locked down our border. Only citizens and permanent residents are allowed to travel to New Zealand. There are some exceptions to the border measures. There are exceptions based on humanitarian factors. Now, if you think that you're a person who normally has a temporary visa to get here and you've got humanitarian factors that are compelling that should let you back into New Zealand, by all means, you can test that. There is a special online facility for that. If you go into the immigration website, www.immigration.govt.nz, you should be able to find it. If you would like TDA to assist you there, by all means, contact us. All our staff are working, albeit from home. Now, there are exceptions for, you know, essential workers, especially the health sector. You know, if you are a nurse, doctor, some sort of medical specialist, there are procedures, priority processing for you to be allowed to have your visa approved for travel to New Zealand. Now, for those of you whose visas expired on or before the 1st of April, if you didn't lodge an online application for a new visa, unfortunately, you are now an overstayer, and you will have the normal 28 or 42 days, depending on your previous status, to apply to the Immigration and Protection Tribunal why you should not be deported if you wish to challenge that. If you don't wish to challenge it, then you are required to leave New Zealand. However, that is, as you're aware, somewhat difficult at the moment, since there's not too many airlines flying out of New Zealand at the moment. But if you do wish to leave New Zealand, then you need to contact the airline There's contact details on the immigration website, I believe, to try and help you get to the Auckland airport. That's the only international airport still operational, I believe. And they'll tell you, your own embassy will tell you whether there's flights and how to get out of New Zealand. For those of you whose visas expired on 2 April through to 9 July, your visas have automatically been extended to 25 September 2020. You will have or will be receiving an email from Immigration New Zealand confirming that your visa has been extended. Now, if you've changed emails from whatever immigration has, then you probably won't get one. So if you're not sure, then you need to contact Immigration New Zealand. But if you have a valid visa, be rest assured it has been extended. Now, moving on to other things, wage subsidies. Most of you are probably aware that the government is providing wage subsidies, $585.50 a week if you are a permanent employee. But that wage subsidy can only be obtained if the employer applies for it. If the employer applies for it, the employer is required to pay that to you, the employee. It is paid by the government based on the list of employees submitted to the government, and they are required by law to pass it on to you in full. Now, do they have to apply for you? No, they don't. And yes, if they don't apply to you, they can dismiss you. They can't dismiss you if they've applied for the wage subsidy, but if they don't apply for it, that's probably a good indication that they are going to terminate your employment. Now, many of you are concerned out there, you applied for residence visas and you have an invitation to apply, which required you to submit your documents within 4 months, and you didn't get them in time before the lockdown started. And so understandably, you're stressed, you're panicked. What can I do? Can't get couriers to pick it up. There's no postal services. We've gone, TDA, we've gone to the government at the highest levels, and they've come back and told us, the Minister of the government is aware of the problem, but at the moment they don't have a solution. They haven't turned their minds to it at this stage, because in the whole scheme of things, it's just not that important as of today. I feel confident they will sort something out that you won't be disadvantaged. But I also am aware that for those of you who are in that situation, until you get confirmation, it will remain to be somewhat of a big stress for you. But like I said, I'm confident the government will do what's right. You could try submitting it online. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I did an application online the other day for a variation of change. There's no provision to do it online, but I gerrymandered a visitor visa application. Actually told some untruths on there, but referred to every one of them in the cover letter why I did it. And that was because the client was stuck. He believed he would be in breach of his visa if he continued working at his job, so he wanted it submitted. And it worked. The Immigration Department confirmed acceptance of that application, even though it was not for the visitor visa. There's been comment, has the government reacted quickly enough and sufficiently? Yes, they have. Of course, in hindsight, I'm sure Jacinda and her ministers and Dr. Bloomfield, former Commissioner Bush, may have done one or two things differently. But hey, when you look at the worldwide table of positive cases, mortality rates, New Zealand is doing better than any other country in the world, actually. And we're lucky. We've got this barrier called the Tasman Sea and Pacific Ocean around us. And we've always grizzled about gee, it's hard getting to our markets. It is, but it's also hard for coronavirus, COVID-19, to get here to New Zealand. So that's been a bit of a saving grace, I guess. And yeah, I think the government's pretty much done a sterling job. Now, a question I've been asked, should lower skilled workers, like supermarket workers, now be prioritized by immigration because they are considered today essential workers in the COVID-19 lockdown? And it is ironic, I admit. Many of the people out there who have the so-called high-skilled jobs, according to ANSCO, according to Immigration New Zealand, they're all sitting at home. They're not working because they're not considered essential. But the so-called low-skilled packer, checkout operator at New World, Countdown, Pack and Save, they are now high-priority essential skills. Will that transfer through to better recognition when this is all over in terms of skilled migrant category residence applications? I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath though, but hey, who knows? It's certainly food for thought. When we've got this worldwide pandemic, who is considered essential? Supermarket workers, all those essential workers that are out there for services. So we'll see what happens. Now, processing of current applications. Many of you have current applications for different visas, work visas, student visas, and you've heard nothing back. And you're not going to hear anything back for some time. While I sympathize with you and understand the stress it's causing you, you are all on interim visas and they will be extended for as long as necessary until we come out of this lockdown and the government can see its way forward. Your current applications are just not important in terms of what's going on today. But I'm very confident the government hasn't forgotten about you and they will go back and fix it up in due course. But right now, all Immigration New Zealand offices worldwide are closed. They have a skeleton staff at Parliament, and that skeleton staff is only processing high priority applications, like I said, for healthcare workers, for example, and providing advice to the government. And until we come out of the lockdown, that's probably not going to change. Another thing of skilled migrants, applicants, be a lot of panic out there because the rules say that during the processing of your skilled migrant category application, if you don't go to work, you're in breach of your visa. If you've lost your job, you've lost the points, and therefore your visa application for residency will be declined. And of course, right now, there's hundreds of you, probably thousands of you, who are now technically in breach of your visa, or at least you don't qualify for the skilled employment points because you've lost your job. Through no fault of your own, through no fault of your employer. Now, the government is aware of it, but they haven't turned their mind to it because just like with processing visas, it's just not that important at the moment. I am hopeful that the government will turn their minds to it. I am putting forward a submission to the Minister that they should make any decisions based on the status of your application as at, say, the 1st of March 2020, before we went into lockdown, or maybe even. And if your employer was sustainable then, if you were doing your job then you shouldn't be penalised for what's happened to your employment because of COVID-19. But that's just me. That's what I think would be fair. Will the government think that? I hope they do. It would be, I think, pretty immoral and wrong for them to penalise you because of COVID-19. Now, is your this is a posting that's in a number of immigration sites out there. If you type in on some of the immigration groups, you'll find this posting. It's from a community law, and it can help you work your way through as to looking at how you fare under COVID-19 for employment. I won't go through it, it's too long or too technical, but I encourage you to go and find it and have a read. So anyway, everybody, that's it. That's today's update. I will probably come back to you in about a week's time, maybe earlier, depending if there's any major immigration decisions made over the next few days. But here, from the very isolated base of the Tararua mountain range, I wish you all the best. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay within your isolation bubble. So, good night.